The boy said, "We have to move pretty fast in business matters. Why can't you leave that to me? I know what to do. What shall I say in reply?" I mean, like now, Mari is kind of accusing Jagan in a way, right? Actually, more than accusing, he's kind of provoking Jagan. He says, like, we have to move pretty fast. I mean, like, we have to make a decision really fast now, right? We were lagging behind. We were not making decisions, right? We were just, being slack here. Why can't you leave that to me? Why can't you leave this decision making to me, this administration part to me? I know what to do. What shall I say in reply? How can I reply this cable? I mean, like, how can I reply this telegram kind of this letter from the my associates, right? Marias from Jagan. What is status? Jagan asked, right? Uh, what is status? Whose status are they talking about? Jagan asked a cross question, right? In a kind of a aloof way, right? In a much more detached way. Now Jagan is asking questions like, what is the status you are talking about? Right? Whose status are they talking about? Right? Actually, status means the business status. I mean, like the how's the things proceeding, things like that, right? Malik clenched his fist and said, I mean, clench his fist, this clenching the fist means he's angry. When you're angry, automatically it happens, right? When you are really annoyed and we are really kind of a pissed, right? Don't use that word, it's a kind of invective, it's a kind of abusive language, but still, you get the idea, right? When you're kind of angry, right? Malik clenched his fists and said, are you going through with our manufacturing business or are we not? Sorry. So what's the idea? Is like, are we going through with our manufacturing business or are we not? Mal is asking, like, are we doing this factory or are we not doing this factory? That's the status here I'm talking about. Are we doing this or are we not doing this? Are we discarding this, right? Do you propose to talk about it now? Asked Jagan. I mean, like, do you want to talk about these things right now? Asked Jagan. I must know about it. I mean, like, I have to know your decision. I have to know what's the progress. I need to know, says Mali, right? Jagan felt a sudden pity for the boy sitting there, forlorn and puzzled, and he cursed the barrier which seems to raise itself whenever they came together. I mean, like, Jagan felt a sudden pity. I mean, like, Jagan is not angry. Even Mali is like clenching his fists. His voice is a little sharp and things like that. Even Mali is annoyed here. Jagan is now kind of relaxed. Is inwardly he is kind of he's not moved. He's not scared. He's not withdrawn. He's not recoiling. Or he doesn't. In a way, he's kind of aloof to the situation, right? There's a distance, kind of detachment. So anyway, Jagan feels sad about and a pity about the boy sitting there forlorn and puzzled. I mean, like, see, he looked at Mali. Mali looked a little puzzled. Mali looks a little confused, forlorn, lonesome, right? Kind of abandoned. And he cursed the barrier. Jagan really hate the barrier, right? Every time there's a conversation between him and son, its outcome is not positive. Outcome is not interesting. Outcome is not kind of having any emotions or kind of a closeness or kind of intimacy. It always has this distance, right? It's like Mali always come for him for things and asking him things or forcing him things, and there's this barrier, there's this wall, kind of glass wall between the both, right? He pleaded. Jagan asked in a much more beseeching, much more kind of a pleading voice, son, I'll give you in charge of the shop. It's yours, take it. Jagan wanted to give up his business. I mean, like his sweet meat shop. Here, Jagan just give another second time he's suggesting, right? Okay, if you want to do a business, right, in this town, right, take my shop because that's what Jagan wants, right? Just his son, just to follow his footsteps. I mean, like, that's I mean it's not a I mean an unsuccessful business, right? It's a very successful money generating kind of a important shop in whole Malgudi, right? But here father also may be thinking of going back, retreating, right? Just to somewhere, I don't know, right? We'll see it in the future what's going to happen. But Jagan is changing, right? Jagan wants to give up, get rid of things, right? Worldly things now. So maybe he's suggesting, like, son, Mali, why don't you take my shop and do it, right? Forget these factories, forget your associates, continue my work, right? Uh, Son, I will leave you in charge of the shop. I'll make you the boss in my shop. It's yours, take it. Take my shop. The boy made a wry face, kind of a wry, kind of a disgust and disdainful, kind of uh, condescending kind of face, right? And a wry face. And at the mention of the shop, fortunately, the dim light did not reveal it fully. I mean, like, we are in the dark, right? Now the situation is in dark, right? It's dim lights, 10-watt light, so you can't see Mali's face clearly. No, Mali can't see Jagan's face clearly. Jagan can't see Mali's face clearly, so we can't see. Anyone can't see Mali's face clearly. What's his expression like, right? I tell you once and for all, I don't want to be. I tell you once and for all, like, this is the first, this, I mean, I have told you previously. And this is the last time I tell you. Once and for all means, like, don't ask me, don't tell me. I don't want to be, I don't want to take your bloody shop. That's the idea. Mali is very strict here, right? It's like, I don't want your stupid shop, right? I don't want to be. He merely concluded. Mali finished his lines. I have learned valuable things in the United States at a cost of several $1,000s. Why can't our country make use of my knowledge? I can't, right? I can't. I mean, like, see, I have been to USA, America, right? And spend a fortune, thousands and thousands of dollars just to learn these new things about story writing, about this machine business plan. I have this, right? And why can't India, why can't Malgudi take any use of my knowledge or my expertise, right? This is my problem. Why they are not taking use of it? Why you can't help me there, right? And I don't want, I can't means I can't take your shop, right? It's not me, it's not my line of work. Others, I don't have interest in your kind of job, right? That's what Mal is saying to the father. Although he avoided the phrase vendor of sweets, I mean, like, I can't be a vendor of sweets means, I mean, like, the idea here is, like, when you say the word vendor of sweets, you don't get this impression, you don't get the idea right here. What is the hidden idea? Okay, we see the title is vendor of sweets, right? I mean, like, imagine, like, a title, a milkman or the breadman or the fisherman, something like that, right? Vendor of sweets කියන්නේ අපි කියන්නේ මේ කිරිකාරයා මාළුකාරයා එතකොට පාංකාරයා චූම්පාංකාරයා, right? This කාරයා thing, right? Police කාරයා කියලා කියනවා, right? This thing kind of a derogatory kind of a term that just, it's a condescending term. It's kind of a looking down term. It's kind of belittling or just kind of bringing down the other's position with these words. Like, those are jobs. Those are equally important jobs, right? කුණු කාර්ය කියලා කිව්වට ඒ මනුස්සයා just like contribute. That person contributes to the system. Without him, like, who is going to do that thing, right? Then we have to clean ourselves, right? Then what? Right? So they are equally important, but the way they tell about, speak about, announce this is a very derogatory, very demeaning kind of, very, I mean, like, ugly way of calling people, right? So it's, for us it's natural. We don't even feel that anymore, right? But if you are doing that job, you'll get used to, I mean, like, you get this impression, right? So in that way, vendor of sweets may be carrying the same word, right? Like karya, right? For Jagan, I mean, like, so luckily, for some reason, Mali didn't use that word, vendor of sweets. So you have to understand, vendor of sweets sometimes it's not that much a praiseworthy term, right? It's like, so that's the idea here. You have to get, right? The phrase, he avoided the phrase vendor of sweets. His repugnance, there you go, his repugnance, Mali's repugnance. What is repugnance? Underlining. Disgust, disapproval, repugnance, hate it, in other words, right? Mali's repugnance for the occupation, the job occupation, came out unmistakably. It's clear how Mali hated the job of vending sweets or just selling sweet. Mongering sweets, in other words, right? It's another word. Monger is a seller, right? Selling sweets, all stand for seller, right? So it's like same thing, right? Mali is very unhappy and very much against the idea of father, and even just clearly says like, I have gone to America and I have learned. So see, the Mali is high, kind of, he thinks he's privileged, right? From the small days, even the very young days, he thinks he's very special. He thinks he's privileged. He thinks, he's some kind of a important figure among the rest, right? He has this disdainful kind of condescending attitude towards the others, right? He thought in the school, right? Can you remember what he told about his friends? These are all just like ordinary people. I am the special person because I don't want to read what others wrote. I want to write things which others write. So that shows even at a very young age he has this kind of very high esteem of him. So it's the same thing, right? Now he has gone to America, he has studied things, right? He thinks he's very important and others has to listen and others has to definitely support his ideas, right? So he's so talking like this. It's kind of a high kind of a self-esteem is evident in these things, right? You have to be very careful just to get these things when you are writing characteristics, when you are writing about the certain characters, right? You can use those things. Okay, coming back to the text, right? Uh, and they remain silent. Now, father and son was silent for a while. They are pausing, right? There's a pause in the atmosphere. And Mali added the final touch. Mali added something finally to this conversation. In any case, your business is worth nothing now. So it's like final line, the punch line. It's like kind of a knockout shot. In knockout, in boxing, where if you get a knockout, it's almost a punch somewhere in the face, right? Or just it's a kind of a shot that makes the opponent totally fall. I mean, like totally defeated. When if you've seen like Mike Tyson, the Iron Man, Iron Tyson in the boxing ring, when he gave a knockout, when he give this punch, like the other boxer, his opponent, his enemy, suddenly falls down. Means like that's a kind of a knockout shot, kind of a punch line here. The final line is a very caustic, kind of vitriolic, kind of kind of a nasty line, right? In any case, your business is worth nothing now. I'm like, yes, your business is rubbish, Dad, right? Your business is like kind of stupid business now. It's like out of the line, out of the fashion, out of the mode, out of the current trend of businesses. It's obsolete. You're done, right? You got a stupid business, right? That's the idea here. See his attitude, right? Jagan asked, undisturbed, who told you that? I mean, like, who said that? And Jagan knows, right? How many people are there in front of his job, just his shop, right? Just to get that free packets. I mean, like cheap packets, sweet packets. There's a huge line. මිනිස්සු පොර කනවා ඒ. මිනිස්සු ලයින් වල ඉඳලා බඩු නැතුව යනවා. right මේක කියනවා මේ මාලි කියනවා මේක just like out of kind of a it's not worth anything now. And Jagan asked the very crucial question, who told you that, right? Who says that my business is out of line, right? Everyone in the trade is talking about you. What are you trying to do anyway? Like everyone is talking about you in this business world in Malgudi, right? Every business person talks about you. Like now, what are you going to achieve with these things? What are you going to prove, right? What are you trying to do anyway? And what's your aim? Why are you acting so ridiculous? Why are you acting so preposterous? Why you are just reducing prices and making such a fuss? Mali asks, right? Jagan remains silent. Jagan remains silent. Now it's kind of a silence is kind of his weapon, right? He don't answer back. He don't say anything. He's silent. It shows that he's kind of a matured suddenly, right? Jagan is not disturbed kind of from these petty things anymore. Jagan remains silent, whereupon Mali again described his fiction writing machine in detail. Now Mali He's explaining about this fiction writing machine, I mean like this story writing machine, to dad again in detail, what this machine can do, what is the purpose of it, like how people can change from this, how the story writing uh, situation can change, how India can, top compete with the entire world with this story writing machine, right? So many talks, so many big ambitions are told to father in this darkness, right? In detail, and repeated the contents of his prospectus and what is in the book, what is in that prospectus, as if he's explaining this to a child, right? Mahal is explaining these things to the father, right? Jagan listened while the stars ran their course. I mean, like Jagan was listening to what Mali says, and while stars are moving, I mean, stars ran their course means stars sometimes don't, even when you look to the sky, you see the stars at a certain moment, right? After 1 or 2 hours, you see the same place. No, stars have moved, right? You don't notice it, but stars have moved, right, from that location. So when the course means the way, the route, the stars are moving, says something indirectly, time is past, right? So while listening to Mali's explanation, time has passed. In other words, the stars has run their course, right? When Mali paused, when Mali stopped, right, having reached the end of the prospectus, Jagan just asked, "Where is Grace?" I mean, like Mar is explaining all these things to father. Why? Just to incite the desire of the father. At least he's thinking in the final moment, father will listen and approve his plan and give him this money, and that's why he's taking all this effort just to explain and re-explain and re-explain things to father, right? And father is listening to all these things, and at the end ask a very different question. Now, where is Grace? Why? Asked son, like, what is it to you, right? Asked son. Jagan had no answer. He was not bound to answer every question. I mean, like, Jagan did have no answer, like why he want to know where is Grace. But I mean, like every question, right? Uh, Sometimes he asks question, kind of rhetoric questions, right? He asks questions, doesn't anticipate any answers, right? I mean, like, he was not bound to give any reply to any question, right? If he won't, he can answer. If he don't want to answer, right? So when Mali asked why, they can say silent, right? Didn't give any answer. Mali insisted that I have to know whether you are coming into our business or not. So there, Mali is pressing now, right? Mali want to know, are you into our business or not? Be clear, be precise. Don't escape. Don't kind of, slither away or just beat around the bush from this problem. There's a central problem here. Are you helping my business or not? I want to know. Smart, right? What will you do if I say no? See the reply of Jagan, right? Straight to the point, right? I mean, like, all this time before, he was not this precise, he was not this kind of concentrated, right? He said, like, okay, what are you going to do if I'm saying no? I don't want to take part in your business. What a slap in the face of Mali, right? Grace then, Mali immediately replies, okay, if you don't want to take part in my business, Grace will have to go back. We will have to buy her an air ticket. That's all. Okay, if you don't want to support the business, yeah, Grace has to go back to America. And you have to buy the, we have to buy the, we will have to buy the air ticket. We have to buy her a ticket just to go. I mean, like, from whose account is he going to buy the ticket? We, not I have to buy the ticket, right? We, there's a plural. We. Who is this we? Either it has to be Jagan or either it has to be Mali, right? We have to buy the ticket. Now, whose wife is this in the first place? He introduced, like, to the father, Grace is my wife, right? So is the father, I mean, like, if Grace want to go to America, okay, who's going to buy the ticket first? Is the husband, right? Either Grace or either husband. Now, why we? Isn't that kind of ambiguous? Think about it, right? Uh, we have to buy her an air ticket. That's all. Now, when this is said by Mali, what has it to do with her? Ask Jagan. Now. What is Grace has to do with this factory? If I am not supporting you, why Grace has to go to America? What kind of a talk is that? What kind of rubbish is that I talking? What's the connection now? In other words, right? What has it to do with Ask Jagan? The connections were baffling. I mean, like, this talk is baffling, these connections. Like, okay, I'm not supporting a factory, I'm not giving the money to a factory. But why does Grace have to go to America? What kind of a story is this? What kind of a connection is this here, right? It's baffling, it's confusing. Like the wiring at the back of a radio panel. I mean, like, it's like a, in the back of a radio, when you open the cover, you see a lot of wirings, right? In old days. Nowadays, we have chips and everything. In old days, there was a lot of wiring. I mean, like, you don't know what wire means, right? I mean, like, you see the wires, you see the harnesses, right? But you have no idea how it helps. Like, what is the connection? It's just confusing, right? Thinking about it. If you know electronics, you know the thing. But if you don't know electronics, that's baffling, right? Uh, so this talk is like Chinese or Greek or baffling Latin, right? To Jagan, right? What is the connection here? What's so? Why would she stay here? Asked boy plainly. Mali asked plainly, okay, if there's no factory, if you are not supporting the factory, if factory is not built, why would Grace stay in India? What's the purpose? Asked boy simply, plainly means simply. She has nothing to do here. She's got nothing to do in India. That's it. In Malgudi. Now father says, I do not understand what you are talking about. I have never been able to understand you at all. Call her. Let me talk to her. He had got used to the presence of Grace in the house and he felt desolate at the thought of losing her. I mean, like, now, previously when they're having these conversations, either Grace was standing beside or behind, and now father is used to kind of these kind of situations, right? In the very beginning, father felt uncomfortable when he was speaking with son. When this daughter-in-law comes and stands behind, father disliked it. But after some time, father is very used to this thing. And now father tells to Mali, go, speak to your wife. Bring the wife here, right? In other words, what does he say? Call her. Let me talk to her. Now father doesn't mind. Now father feel lonesome just to speak only to Mali. He want Grace presence as well, right? Uh, Then Mali says, she has gone out, said Mali briefly. Grace is gone out. She's not at the house, right? I can't call her. She's not in the house, right? Now, father is kind of surprised. See the surprise in his statement. Where at this time of the night? What? At this time of the night? You are saying, where's your wife? Has gone out? At this time of the night? She can see, she can go where she pleases. Why should anyone question her, right? She's now uh, Mali reply as if this is America, right? Like she says, like America is a liberal country. In Western countries, whenever a woman thinks she want to go out for some reason, she can go out, right? No one cares, right? If I mean, like, that's a liberal situation. I mean, as adults, you can decide what you want to do in your life. That's a kind of liberal freedom, right? They are experiencing in those liberal countries. You can't just force an adult say, no, don't keep your step out of the house. You can't do that. But here in India, the context is different, right? Even our context is different, right? We are still stuck on that kind of Victorian morality, right? So there's another thing. Victorian morality can be seen here as well. But anyway, coming back to the situation, she can be, yeah, Mali says, like, she's adult, right? She can go where she pleases, no problem. She's a big person, right? She's adult. She's not a child anymore. What's the big deal, right? Why should anyone question her? Why should anyone question her? Why should anyone stop her? What's the big deal, yeah, right? No, it's not that, said Jagan. No. It's not that. I'm not talking about that. Right. Jagan is coming to a point here. Fate seemed to decree that there should be no more communication between them. I mean, like, fate seemed, the kismet, the destiny seemed to decide Decree means a kind of a decide with authority, kind of a rule, kind of an injunction, right? Okay, if you don't understand the injunction, write down. Decree means decide with authority. I mean, like sometimes your principal decide with authority, right? When you are outside loitering, go to your class, get out, right? She's deciding with kind of authority. That's a decree, right? So now here, fate seems to decree that there should be no communication between them. Some invincible force twisted their tongues when they wanted to speak and made them say the wrong things. Jacob stood up desperately, bent close to his son's face, and cried, "Where is she going? Why is she going? Is she unhappy here?" Now, the idea here is that conversation between father and son has come to a deadlock now. This means like it's not comfortable to speak anymore between father and son. I mean, like now father is a little angry. The father is taking the authority here. It's like a boss. Jagan interferes and asks kind of big questions. Of course, it's not that she can go where she pleases, right? Anyone, why would anyone question her? Ask Mali in a kind of a disdainful way. Jagan said, "No, no, 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 not that. That's not what I'm talking about. Why she goes from this house at this time of the night? I mean, like, where is she going? Why is she going? Is she unhappy here? What's the problem? What's the problem? Make her go out of this house at this time of the day. Tell me that." Jagan, kind of in authoritative way, just asks Mali in a kind of shrill, a kind of a cry, in a kind of a high-pitched voice in front of Mali, right? That's very unexpected kind of a reaction from Jagan, right? Mali rose to feet and said, Mali just stood up, right? He was sitting on the stool all this moment. He stood up and said, "Who are you to stop from going where she pleases? She's a free person, not like the daughter-in-laws in our miserable country." There Mali goes, right? Mali is giving this American kind of speech, American kind of liberal kind of attitude, right? Mali is used to these things after, eating beef and eating, I mean, like drinking habits, we'll find it later, right? I mean, like now Mali is changed, right? He says like, he answers father, right? "Who are you to stop from going where she pleases? Like, what authority do you have?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can be father-in-law of the uh, father-in-law of Grace, but do you have permission? Do you have authority? What kind of authority do you have to stop her? Even as husband, I don't have this authority." That may be what he's implying, right? We'll find even that problematic in the future, right? I mean, like, how can I stop that? Who are you to stop it in the first place? What authority do you have, right? She's a free person. She's an adult. She's a grown-up person. And not like our traditional daughter-in-laws. India में सांप्रदायिक बिरदवल වගේ මේ Grace නිදහස් මිනිස්සෙක්. ඉතින් ඒ නිදහස් මිනිස්සෙක් කියන ඕන වෙලාවක ඕන තැනක යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ප්‍රශ්න කරන්න ඔයා කවුද? Right? Just like that's the idea of Mali, right? See Mali's attitude, right? Jagan said, now listening to Mali, "I just want to know why she is thinking of going. That is all. She is of course free. Who says she is not? Has anything made her unhappy?" Yeah, I can understand that. I can clearly understand what you're saying. මට ඔයා කියන බණ තේරෙනවා. This the father says, right? But I want to know why Grace want to go to America. Or why Grace is not in this house right now. What is the problem? Is Grace unhappy? That's what I want to know from you. Father stressed his point to Mali, right? Then Mali replies like, "What is there to keep her happy? Like, what is there in this shitty place, right? In this miserable country?" He told like miserable country. In other words, what is there in this miserable place? It's like shitty, kind of a wretched. I don't use the word shitty, right? I'm just explaining these things, right? This wretched place makes her happy, right? What is in here? What is in here to make Grace happy, right? Asked Mali. Cried Mali. "This is a miserable place with no life in it. Like this is a kind of wretched, kind of a disgusting, repugnant, kind of a puddle of mud. a shithole, a kind of a sewage, a kind of a gutter, right? That's the idea that's inside these words, right? There's no life in it. කක්කුස්සිවලක් මේ රට මේක මොකද්ද ජීවත් වෙන්න තියෙන්නේ මේක මොනවද අපිට තියෙන්නේ ජීවත් මේක මොනවද සතුටක් වෙන්න දෙයක් තියෙන්නේ just like he's now lambasting, he's now accusing, and he's now kind of disparaging the country itself, right? She was used to a good life. She had a good life in America, right? It's a kind of liberal, nice life. She came here to work. She came here to work in a factory. She came here to work in a kind of a constructed factory, right? A new place, right? And she's going back because she has no work to do. Now the factory is not going to be made because you are not supporting it. So she doesn't have a place to work. Like what's the hell she's staying here? She's going to America. That's the reason. And Mali explained these things to Jagan, right? And now Jagan swallowed back the words he wanted to blurt out. With this thing, Jagan swallowed means he didn't say the words. He didn't spit out the words. He swallowed it, right? He kind of silenced the words he wanted to say. But she is weeping and cleaning. Now Jagan says, right? But she is sweeping and cleaning the house. This is a big house and she has enough work to keep her engaged for the whole day. What more does she want? Jagan asked the traditional question, right? Okay. Now Jagan, with this statement, falls back into that kind of a traditional village mindset of a father-in-law, right? So she says like, okay, now she has to do a lot of sweeping in this house. She has to do a lot of cleaning in this house. This is a big house, right? She has enough work. Why are you complaining she doesn't have work here? She have enough work, right? I mean, like, to do the whole day. What more does she want? What else? What kind of work are you talking about? In other words, when Mali said work, what came to the father was the housework, right? You know, right? Nowadays, women are equal, share equal rights with constitutional rights, even in our country, right? With men, they can engage in kind of very fascinating lines of work, right? In in the banks, we find managers, like in the IT field, whenever there it is, in the politicians, women are everywhere, right? So line of women work can be extended into kind of professional work, right? So that's not the way Jagan grasped it. Jagan grasped it at the tail, the word work, and said like, right? I mean, like, yeah. She can do the housework, and what else work does a woman want, right? He asked from his son, right? And with this, Mali announced, she came here for a project to work with me. Didn't you see name in the notice? Now, Mali clearly says to his father, Grace came from America to Malgudi to work with me in a project, in a factory, just like we are like bosses, right? In other ways, she was here for a position. She was here for that kind of work. Didn't you see that in the notice? Mali explained these things to the father, right? Jagan had learned the art of ignoring questions. Now Jagan has all this time, right, with this kind of sudden kind of transcendence, right, has learned the art of ignoring questions. I mean, like, Jagan didn't want to answer these things, right, or just say something, raise questions, right? Mali got up saying, now Mali is angry. Mali got up saying, if she has nothing to do here, she goes back. That's all. Her air ticket must be bought immediately. And Mali gives the final verdict. Okay, if nothing happens here, Grace is going back to America. We have to buy the air ticket. Air ticket to be bought immediately. Now again, the funny part comes here, right? There's another interesting question to ask. Who's going to buy the air ticket? Who's going to spend for that? Do you think Mali is going to spend for the air ticket of Grace? Then why does he tell the same thing twice to the father? Because it seems like Mali wants the father, Jagan, to buy the air ticket as well, right? When Mali went to America, who bought the air ticket? Mali bought the air ticket, but with whose money? Father's money. Father's expenses. Jagan's expenses. He stole money from the cash loft, right? From the loft, that cash. I think he wants father to pay the ticket again here, right? What kind of a man is this? What kind of a son is this? If you are the father, if you are the Jagan, what's your response for this? If you have a son like Mali, right? Okay, you can be a female, but you can be a male as well. But imagine you have a son like Mali. What would you do? Right? Think about those things, right? What your parents would do. You have a sibling like Mali, right? Okay, now her ticket must be bought immediately, says Malik to Jagan. And Jagan says, but a wife must be with her husband, whatever happens. There you go. Father immediately say, huh, but it's wife's duty to stay with husband, whatever happened. බිරිඳකගේ යුතුයකම තමයි husband එක ඉන්න එක මොන ප්‍රශ්න තිබුණත්. It's like Jagan says this thing, right? That was in your day, said Mali and left. ඒ ඔයාගේ කාලේ. ඒ ඔයාලගේ කාලේ, right? Said Mali and just left the place, left the room, right? What a conversation, right? My goodness, right? So many things just jumped up between the tension between these two characters. And see the Mali's attitude. What do you think? Mali's right here? Mali has a logic here. Like, do you think Jagan has to buy the ticket for Grace? What do you think? Tell me, right? Just let me know in the comment box, right? Your attitudes, right? So I know those things, right? Now, after some time, Jagan lost his sleep that night. Jagan couldn't sleep that night. He was awake that night, right? The obscurity of the whole business worried him. Obscurity means this darkness, this ambiguity, this obscure means it's not clear. It's totally dark. It's totally can't be understood. It's obscure. What are the tails and what is the head in this situation? It's so obscure, covered, right? Of the whole business worried Jagan. Oh, he's upset. Why Grace has to go to America? Right? Why is this Grace is going outside in the night? They are married? Why does the wife doesn't stay with the husband? Why does we have to buy the air ticket? A lot of questions, right? Of course, right? To think Grace was out of the sight, and he didn't see Grace at all. He liked her presence in the house anyway. Father liked Grace. There was something in Grace that was interesting. There was this kind of a, maybe it reminded Jagan of the times of Ambika, right? Of course, even with Ambika, Jagan had certain fights. But Jagan loved Ambika in his way, right? And in his own way, like Jagan also likes Grace. So Jagan kind of missed Grace, right? When the Grace is gone, right? All is left is Mali, right? He can't converse with Mali as if he converse with Grace. I mean, we found that, right? Jagan can say almost anything to Grace. They can talk. They were open to talk. They were open to conversation. With Mali, it's not there, right? So, kind of he liked the presence of her in the house. It filled a serious lacuna. It filled a serious lacuna underlying. Lacuna means a lack, a deficiency, kind of a space. Hidasa කියන lacuna. අඩුව කියන එක තමයි lacuna, right? Where had Mali hidden her at the moment? Jagan thinks like, where does Mali have hidden her? Have Mali hidden Grace? Is it Mali's plan? Is this a kind of a Mali's plan? Just to hide her? Have he hid her somewhere? Right? He thinks. He wouldn't even admit that he knew where she had gone. I mean, like, now again, Jagan felt like, no, my son doesn't know even where this woman went. That was obvious in his talk, in his speech, in the conversation. Mali doesn't have any clue where Grace went. If he knew, he would have told him, right? That also came to Jagan's mind. She had gone. Was this how a man kept a track of his wife? I mean, like, was this the way a man took care of his wife? Jagan is really upset. Jagan is really disgusted about his son as a husband. The way he took care of his wife. Is this a manly way of taking care of a wife? මේ මිනිහෙක් තමන්ගේ බිරිඳ බලාගන්න හැටිද මේ? Right? He is accusing his own son. We know, right? Jagan even had problems, right? Jagan was a crazy character. Even some things that Ambika hated in Jagan, but Jagan did his very best till Ambika was, like Ambika passed away, right? Can you remember? He was just near him with the doctor, and he was very considerate sometimes. Sometimes he didn't give aspirin, and sometimes he suggested like stupid things. That's out of the equation. That's out of the context here. But still, Jagan stood by his wife. Took care of his wife. There was something good. Like a positive characteristic, a kind of a optimistic characteristic of Jagan. Jagan stood till her wife died, till the last moment, right? He was there. Even he cried at the final moment, right? Feeling very broken, feeling like kind of a emotionally vulnerable. Can you remember? Right? But this guy came like very recently, his son Mali, with a wife. He says he's married, and he doesn't even care where this wife goes on. And he doesn't even mind this wife is going to America. He's not bothered. Is this a man in the first place? Is this the way that a man take care of his wife? So many things you have to think about, right? So like Jagan is really worried about this situation, and he's really worried about Mali as well, right? So that's how chapter 9 comes to end. So exciting things are happening. Exciting. Now the novel is moving. The tone of the novel, the mood of the novel is totally different, and things are getting exciting, right? So that's the end of chapter 9.